Okay, welcome Year 6 to Chapter 3 of our Darwin's Dragons. Hopefully you were with the book cafe for the first one, if you've got the book or if you joined the cafe. Friday, I read you Chapter 2. And so Monday, I'm reading Chapter 3. The rain was like Noah's flood all over again. The sky matched the brutal slate grey of the sea and flickered as though the clouds were giant flints clashing against each other. I was sure every new swell would be the one to finish me off. As I tumbled underwater over and over, unable to tell up from down, memories flashed, taking me back where my mind hadn't been in years. To the day after they buried young Kitty Jenkins, who'd drowned in Old River Bedford. Dar had made me go down the pond with him. Brown water in my eyes, in my mouth, sucking me down. I flailed, panicked, sinking, hearing nothing but the roar of the bubbles until Dar's voice cut through, muffled and distant. Kick, Sims, kick hard! I booted the water with all my might and burst free, coughing and sobbing. Strong hands grasped both of my upper arms. Now you can swim, boy, and that's what you do. You swim and you never give up. I smashed through the surface, heaving in coughing breaths, and hoped my Dar was looking down and feeling awful pleased that his son had legs that knew how to kick back. How I wished I could catch a glimpse of the rowboat. For all I knew, it had been overturned and all on board lost. No, I didn't even know if Mr. Darwin could swim, but many of the sailors could not. I had to trust, I had to believe that my master had kept hold of the rope that Robbins had hauled him in. Over and over, I made it back to the surface like a bleeding boxer who didn't know when to quit. At last, at long last, the waters began to churn from below as well as above, and I felt jagged rocks beneath me. I fought to stay upright in the bubbling foam and could just see land ahead of me. Through my bleary, salt-strung eyes, it seemed no more than a great looming lump of black rock, but it might have been heaven itself. I was that pleased to see it. I hauled myself up on the rocks, out of the hungry sea, then scuffed my knees and hands as I dodged iguanas, the sea lizard, which sprawled over the rocks on every Galapagos island, like wet rags on wash day. One lifted its head and snorted out water from the nostrils in its craggy, snub face, but the others gave me barely a glance. The Beagle's commander, Captain Fitzroy, had called them imps of darkness, but they weren't in the least impish in their nature. I finally stood tall, battered by rain and trembling all over, and let myself believe I'd survived. I was scraped and bleeding, but the cuts weren't deep. My legs were wobbly, but I could walk. I had only one boot, but nearly all my senses. I had lost my master, my ship, and even my fiddle. But I was alive. Where was I? The iguanas told me that this was still the Galapagos at least. Ahead was one almighty summit, a bigger volcano than I'd seen. Some of the islands had thick forests covering the high ground, but the plains of black volcanic rock leading up to this one sprouted greenery as sparse as the feathers on a vulture's head. I hadn't been here before. I felt sure of it. I crouched, hugging my knees, and tried to think. We'd been on the west coast of Albemarle this morning, but with the gusts of the storm, I had no way of knowing which direction I'd been washed. I tried to picture the map of the archipelago, but my mind was whirling. I could have hit one of the other shores of Albemarle or been washed up on another island entirely. This place seemed by far the most wild and godforsaken of the Galapagos Islands we had visited, and the driving rain was making it even less welcoming. The relief I'd felt at being washed ashore was fading fast. The next one is chapter 4, and you will need to join the Reading Cafe this week for chapters 4, 5 and 6 to find out what happens. I will be back with chapter 7, but if you don't want to miss out, you need to make sure you join Miss Walker's Reading Cafe this week. See you soon.